Hello, guys. David Vose here. Wow, is it a beautiful day here? I'm just sitting on the porch. There's no wind today, and it's 10 o'clock. I've been sitting here since like 6 o'clock this morning, and it's just been nice and pleasant and warm. And I was enjoying the sun, just kind of, I really believe there's some healing energy in the sun. My dogs, even in the middle of summer, will go out and lay in the sun and you can touch their fur. It's so hot you can't touch them. But that's not hitting their skin because they have a layer of fur. But they're absorbing all that energy. And I believe it gets rid of a lot of the poisons. It disinfects. And I think one of the biggest problems with human health is we're all infected. And I think we should lay in the sun more. But anyway, hope you're having a wonderful day, friends. And but since I already mentioned that, I want to just add to that before we get started today, guys. That I've been more and more and more aware every day of not only that fact and the fact that we're not eating proper oil and omega 3s and stuff, which we need acorns and we need to go out and get walnuts and these kinds of natural foods and berries and nuts. But I believe that as I look back in the past and I see the people that I've loved and that have ended up passing away or people that I've known, they seem to get more ill and more ill. And one day they end up in the hospital and they're dead. And you don't know. And people just think, well, it's their old age or, it just hit them, caught something. And in every case, I can look back and see that they had done something for a long time before that happened. But what usually happens is they get into a position, whereas in their later years, they're not working, they're not doing the things they did when they were younger. Maybe they retire. Could happen even before that, but they start lying around. They don't get as much exercise. That's one. And they start indulging in some particular thing, like drinking too much whiskey or just some particular pharmaceutical drug or something that they've done for some period of time and is deteriorating them. It may be, and this is the biggest thing that deteriorates you, that you begin to not want to cook with actual food, perhaps bread made fresh, or even at the bakery. I think a lot of the bread that's made at the bakery, and maybe not even all of it anymore. I don't know. They might be throwing some preservatives in there just for fun. But if you get bread that is from Hostess or Donuts or any foods that's in a box or a bag that's been on the shelf for days and weeks and in transit, there's all this formaldehyde and these pesticides and these preservatives that are in there. That's what's killing people. We have to go back to eating real food. Get rid of boxed, canned, and food that's been prepared weeks in advance, or food like McDonald's and things like this, because you've seen how you can take a McDonald's hamburger and lay it out, and for weeks and weeks and weeks it never spoils because it's completely full of uh, formaldehyde. Now, they don't have to tell you that formaldehyde is even in there. I truly believe that a human being doesn't just start getting sick, even because they're older. It's usually due to a lack of food and diet, some non food poison has come into your life. So, even though there are many things that aren't good for you, the human body can live for a long period of time as long as you give the body some kind of natural food. And you can cook it. Sometimes it's better raw, but there are foods that need to be cooked. But it has to be unspoiled from human poisons and preservatives and formaldehydes and all these things that's in the food. So you go to the store and you don't think about it, but you say, oh, Chef Boyardee or oh, look at this box, we'll just put it in the oven, or look at this, it's frozen, we'll just throw it in the microwave. This is what's going to kill you. Stop doing this. And like, I remember when my mother passed away, one of the things she'd been doing for, I mean, quite a while is she couldn't gain weight. She was losing weight. And she thought, well, I don't know why I can't, gain any weight. So she started eating these protein powder shakes because she thought she didn't have enough protein or something. And what she didn't understand is that anything in a box that you mix up is not food. And if she was already feeling sick and beginning to deteriorate because of whatever she had done that had started initially her downturn, instead of going back to the way she had eaten all of her life, eating actual food, making dinner, whatever, hamburger, burritos, tamale pie, all the things that we used to eat that was made from scratch, pies and things like that. People didn't understand. It was like, oh, well, we can eat pie because mom used to make pie. So they go to the hostess counter and get hostess pies, and they think it's the same thing. And you get tired of cooking, so you just bring home some kind of a takeout, or that's when takeout and stuff started getting popular. And I don't know, I think people start drinking a little whiskey at night, and they start getting too much, and they think, well, it's just a little, I don't know why I'm not feeling good. And then it starts really going downhill because they get to eating something in a powder form or in a box form. It's stripping your gut of all this natural bacteria. Without that, you're going to die. So guys, what I'm saying is make sure you go back to eating actual food. Even if you can't go out and get some acorns and process them properly, or walnuts, and eat berries and nuts and seeds like you're supposed to, and vegetation, at least make sure you're eating real food, the real natural things, and not some poisons. But friends, I woke up this morning and somebody had sent me this, and it shocked me because, well, I mean, nothing really shocks me too much anymore, but as I was reading this, I was thinking, what irony, what craziness is going on in the minds of humans. Do they really believe the stuff that they're talking about? They criticize people who believe in the Bible, like, oh, you don't believe in that, do you? You crazy man. But then they turn to these outlandish, crazy things about aliens and galactic federations and characters in a Sumerian tablet called Inky or something. That actually, by the way, is the same character in our Bible called Ea Enoki, or Ea Inky. It's in our Bible. It's Yahweh. This is what we call him. And nobody knows this. And people are desperately trying to believe that Enlil's the bad guy and Inky's the good guy. And I've been trying to explain this for a long time. And somebody sent me this knowing that I teach the opposite of that. And they're like, oh, it's almost as if somebody's sending these people to me to try and find some way to get me off. Get on the bandwagon. Start going, yay, brother, oh, yeah, because this guy says, yeah, Enlil's probably the bad guy, but this guy is saying, yeah, Inky's really Lucifer. Well, I guess he didn't watch too many of my videos, because I've been saying that the word Lucifer has nothing to do with the devil. It has to do with the morning star, which is actually Jesus. But anyway, because people can't juggle all this information that keeps going around, they can't grasp it all, and they don't remember all of it. They're trying to put it all together. But why? I know why I'm trying to put this information together, is because I'm searching for the truth. And I'm being very careful about it. And I'm very aware, and I've been reading this for a long time. I think some people don't know as much. They don't have the information. But there is some agenda, and they're trying to pump it towards me. And I think towards people who have been hearing some of the things I've been saying and misapplying all this information. And So at first it was all like, oh, we need to follow the Galactic Federation like Elena Danan, and there's all these reptilians like David Icke says, and they put all this together. But then David keeps coming along and saying, oh, this is ridiculous. So then they come up with some other crazy idea to kind of mitigate some of the crazy things they were saying, that I think a lot of people will realize that I've been saying that dispels what they were saying. So then they come back with another idea. This is the way it looks to me. But you got to think to yourself, why would this be happening? That all of these crazy, lunatic, insane, fantastic, novel ideas that are absolutely ridiculous, like little green men on the moon. I mean, did we always know that was just a gag? It was just a some kind of a little expression about something we all knew was not true, but it was like a little ha ha, you know, Santa coming down the chimney. Nobody thought that was the truth, right? So why are human beings at this point, at this juncture in time, beginning to believe in all these fantasy, weird, crazy aliens and alien greys and reptilians and federations and going back to Sumerian tablets and misapplying them just like they did the Bible? What is the motive here? And I was thinking about that, and I think just imagine if the whole world, one day you wake up and somebody writes a book or makes a video or something and says that he saw the Great Pumpkin and he followed the Great Pumpkin into a cave and went underground, and there's this big underground city, and all of the Great Pumpkin's brothers and sisters live down there, and they're down there feasting on human flesh. They come out at night, they take the children, they take them underground to the underground pumpkin patch, and they're just down there reveling and having sex with human children and eating them afterwards. And this story gets exaggerated, and pretty soon it's in the mainstream media, and they're talking about the Great Pumpkin, and the Earth is a big orange ball, which is really hollow because that's why Halloween is so important. And whatever, they come up with the most exaggerated, ridiculous things, and just maybe just to see how people will react. I don't know, to get them so that they think everything's just a Great Pumpkin story, that you can't believe anything, because obviously nobody believes in the Great Pumpkin or Santa Claus. So why would you believe in Jesus? I don't know. I really believe that it's counter the message of Christ. That's what it's all about. It's countering the truth by ridiculous, crazy stories that enough crazy minds can get influenced by and then start spreading it. And then they're great teachers like David Icke. He comes on, he's like, you guys, they're trying to kill you, and I'm your friend. Oh, and the reptilians and the Great Pumpkin's coming to get you. And you're like, whoa, he's our friend. He's being serious. I agree with him. We're all being enslaved, but his idea that it's because the Great Pumpkin is rising from the Great Pumpkin Patch on October night, and that's where all the children. I mean, it. I am so flabbergasted. I can't believe the stories. But look at this. This is what I was given in my feed today, and this is what it said. And you can't make this up. I'm going to show it to you on the screen. I'm going to refrain from showing the guy's name because I don't know who he is, and I don't want to embarrass people. But man, he says, "Hi, My name is, and it says, I'm an energy healer and an independent researcher. I see that in all the Facebook profiles. And everywhere you find somebody's profile, when they're like, who am I? Well, I'm a reishi healer. I'm working with interplanetary international beings in the Federation government, and I'm a healer, and I'm a transcendentalist, and I'm a this, and they got this big long resume, and they're very proud of it, and they believe in it. They're like, I'm a starseed, I'm a this and that. They're all indulging in this fantasy and going so deep that they've become insane. And I don't know, I guess these young people believe this. They put green tattoos from head to toe and believe they're a vampire. I don't know, but the human delusion right now is more delusional than I think that I could have ever dreamed. Honestly, I don't think I would have ever imagined it could have gotten to this. Even, when I was thinking about all of this maybe 20 or 30 years ago, I didn't think it would get this bad. I think the bottomless pit of ignorance has opened up and swallowed the minds of all the people. But he goes on to say, I feel the need to share my prediction, what's going on to happen shortly in Ukraine, which definitively affect other countries. As you might know, Russian invasion took place in 2014 when Russian occupied the eastern part of my country. So I guess this guy's Ukrainian that's writing to me. It happened right at the time of the so-called revolution of independence that led to the impeachment of Viktor Yanukovych. And 8 years ago later, Vladimir Putin declared special military operation. The main reason for this is that Vladimir Zelensky wanted Ukraine to join the NATO. Also, another reason, some citizens from Donbass region were attacked and killed by Ukrainian forces, which is unfortunately is true. So he's saying that Ukraine's bad, and we're all glorifying Ukraine. So this is what I'm saying. This story is so integrated with some reality and parts of some far-fetched fantasy that no human being would, in their right mind, understand or believe this nonsense, but yet sprinkled with all kinds of things that seems to be stuff that I'm exposing, like they're trying to cover over what I've already exposed with some other lie that nobody could believe or something. But so he's saying, yeah, Ukraine's bad, and Vladimir Zelensky and the Ukrainian people were attacking Russians, and this is all true, and so maybe Russia is the good guys. Well, of course they're not. They're all in it together, and he'll tell you that here in a minute. So he says, in October 2023, we got a new conflict between Hamas and Israel Defense Forces. It doesn't have any connection, right? But that for ordinary people, not researchers. In the reality, Vladimir Putin and Vladimir Zelensky are Judeans who were, did you see that? He's trying to tell you these truths that they're not allowed to say before, in the last 20 years, you were never allowed to even speculate about stuff like this. But all of a sudden, they're doing it. And notice they're letting me do it now on YouTube. I'm getting more and more just boom, bluntly telling you guys things, and they're letting me do it, but they don't monetize it, and they don't want it to get out there, but they feel like some of the stuff that we're saying is getting out there, and so they're countering it with this nonsense, and they're sending it to me, like running it by me to see how I'll react. Like maybe I'll jump on the bandwagon on this or something, or I don't know. I'm trying to understand. But it says that they're both Judeans, and Vladimir Putin and Zelensky, and they're going to fulfill an ancient prophecy. Donald Trump and the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, also have a great role in this. I did a research and found research. So obviously he's not, English isn't his first language here. And I found out the information about the project, Heavenly Jerusalem, which we're going to investigate today, this idea or this project, Heavenly Jerusalem. Maybe you've never heard of it. I vaguely did hear of it some while back, but it's kind of being kept out of the public view. So we're going to expose that here in a minute. Igor Berkut, a Ukrainian citizen with Jewish ancestry, told that conflict in the eastern part of Ukraine won't resolve in a few years. It might take 15 years. And that was way back in 2014. So that'd be ending in 2029, if that was even true, what he just said. The whole situation in Ukraine is about the Judean need for a new territory. Berkut said that in 2029, majority of Jewish population will move to Ukraine. I believe it's all true, but this is going to happen in 2025. Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin both are part of Shabbat Lubavitch team. Trump probably is a member of the Freemasonry or another secret society. It's not coincidence they got along, unlike it was with the previous administration of the U.S. I mean Biden and Harris team. See, this guy obviously doesn't know they're all working together, even Biden and Harris, but he thinks, oh, it's a different team. Trump is going to make a peace with the Russian shortly. So Jewish rabbis and many thousands or even millions of Judeans are going to move to Ukraine. How many of these people are there? They're going to have the greater Israel. They're going to have Jordan, Egypt, Syria, Iraq. Now they want Ukraine. They're all over the United States, running in every public office. They're in every public office in every country, India, China, every country. I guess they need a lot of land when they go to start making their one world deity, and they're going to take the whole Middle East all the way up to Ukraine, and maybe they're going to take Europe too. I don't know. I guess they already got the United States. So it says that they're going to move to Ukraine, and this destination was chosen purposefully because the Judean priests are worshiping their deity El. Now, see, he throws you. He don't say Yahweh. He just throws this El in there. And see, they mix everything up and turn it around backwards. El is our Heavenly Father. We're all the Elohim. So why would you be against El, right? And then to top it off, he's got in parentheses Lucifer, which I don't know how so many people could get this mixed up. And why didn't he just say Satan if that's what he's trying to say? Because he doesn't like El. And they don't understand that Lucifer, Luciferius, means light. And it was Yahweh, the devil, that hated Lucifer and sent him to hell and crucified Jesus. And the book of Revelation says, I am the bright and morning star twice. And the Apostle Peter says that he's the day star, or the star of the dawn. And we have references to this all over the Bible. We even just read one yesterday when I was showing you where the Apostle Paul says that we'll see him in a twinkling of an eye, will be changed. That twinkling of an eye is, again, the sun arising on the horizon and the ray of light hitting your eye. Jesus referred to his coming as the sun that comes out of the east and shines under the west. So we've got this whole analogy throughout the Bible, but nobody, not a soul, seems to be able to understand what's going on or what these words mean. But then, after he puts in parentheses Lucifer, and just before that he said parentheses Enki, a.k.a. Lucifer. So Enki in our Bible is written right there, Anoki, Yah, Anoki, Ia, Enki. That is the person who signed his name at the beginning of the Ten Commandments. I am Ia, Anoki, or Ia, Enki. That is my name. You'll have no other deities before me. I am a jealous deity. I am hate. I am the deity of vengeance. Nobody can get this through their head. Yeah, but Enlil wanted to destroy the world. Yeah, because this carnal system, this illusion The world of sin, the lower carnal nature's got to go. And the only reason that Enlil didn't finish the job is because Enki, the deceiver, got us to believe that he was our deity, and he, I don't know, made some kind of lower form and ensnared us and cast us out of the garden. So Anu and Enlil were working together. Everybody knows Anu is the father, Noah. So Enlil couldn't be so bad. El, the El of heaven. But nobody seems to understand this. So that's why we're having the end of the age now, because our Heavenly Father is going to end it. Jesus is going to end it. But not by killing people, but by transferring their souls back to paradise, because they fell into this delusion. Nobody gets the story. But he goes on and says that the being who defeated El, or Lucifer, was Horus. And of course, he wasn't alone. Oh, of course. Horus teamed up with the warriors from Tau Ceti and the Pleiadian region. Zachariah Sitchin called Horus Enlil, but we both know it's not a real name. Well, I don't know if we both know that, but let's hear your story, because it's getting crazy, and why you're sending me this story. Mexico dying right now, begging for money, but some crazy things are going on. They attack me, and then I tell them, your curses are going to bounce off me and stick to you, and then they die. I mean, they get sick, and they shrivel up. And where's Santos Bonacci now? I've not even heard from him. Brother, where are you? We need to know if you're okay. And have you come to your senses and understood that Jesus is real, friend? But here we go with some more of this propaganda. So he says, sounds insane, right? But just remember the stories of rivalry between Thor and Loki. Oh yeah, let's remember that one. Pirun and Zeles and Osiris versus Set. Also Jupiter and Python, who were cast into Tartarus. I believe it was historical events, not just fantasy stories. Well, you probably got that from me. Okay, but how are you going to twist it? How are you going to try and twist this, little guy? So he goes, Zachariah Sitchin had a great part in fulfilling a prophecy. According to Sitchin's propaganda, well, he got that from me probably, Enki, his wife, Damkina, and some other family members were the ones who created Homo sapiens. That's something that people have been saying, but that's not true. Enki, the devil, never made us. All he did was deceive us and give us the law, which is what brought death and deteriorated. He made bad things and death, and then because of death, we had parasites, and parasites are plagues. So, yeah, all these demons or parasites were created because of death, and death comes by means of law. So it's all a delusion. We're living in the cosmos, which is just a costume. It's not the real world. It's just a cosmetic thing. So he didn't create anything. He just put paint all over you and got you into delusion and changed your mind into insanity and declared himself to be the deity of hate and vengeance. And you obeyed. But nobody can understand this. I think they do understand it. The people that are writing this, that are financed, that are able to, email bomb my Yahoo account with this ridiculous stuff. But I had to tell you what these people are saying. It's propaganda. Look at the way it's written. Somebody's financed this. They probably sent this to, if they didn't send it, well, if they just sent this to me, then we know what's going on. But they probably, somebody's sending this to people. Who? People on my YouTube channel list? Have you guys gotten this? Are they sending this to you guys that watch my videos? And he mentions, stuff that only that I talk about. Elena Danan and all this inky business and stuff. So it almost seems like it is created. Somebody's somewhere at the drawing table, at the drawing board, right? Trying to come up with another way to deceive me. They sent Derek Bros to try and get me off. And, oh, we'll give you book deals, and, we can change the algorithms on the YouTube because I know people at YouTube. Just come over to Washington with me where there are no police, or the Four Corners where the FBI is going to arrest us because we're doing some shenanigans. I don't know why you're even in. Inky, his wife Damkina, and some other family members were the ones who created Homo sapiens. Inky's evil brother, Enlil, evil brother, he's the good guy, they get him all backwards, caused the flood to wipe out Homo sapiens without any rational explanation. Yeah, there was a rational explanation. We had fallen into sin, and we saw the daughters of men and chose wives for ourselves and came and incarnated into this delusion. And they began to create cities and the cosmos, right? So it says that's a lie. Inky is a master of deception. Well, he's got that part right, because I wouldn't bend on that. So now they're kind of saying, well, maybe you're right. Inky's bad too. He told Moses that there's no deity but Inky, aka Jehovah. Well, he's right about that, and there's nowhere he could have gotten that but from my work for the last 10 years. Inky convinced the priests to write Talmud. Well, I've been saying that. And if we read Talmud, Jewish are the chosen people, and Goyim, non-Jewish, are animals. Inky, or Set, put a seed in the priest's mind that intercourse between Pharaoh and his sister was a great idea. In this case, the bloodline would remain pure. No wonder that Akhenaten bloodline has been vanished from Earth. For example, Tutankhamun, a son of Akhenaten and Nefertiti, he had a romantic relationship with his sister. Don't know if there had offspring. Boy, this is somebody that speaks Ukrainian that's translating it into English. Anyway, incest was the main reason of the Pharaoh's death. Well, didn't Abraham have relations with his sister? Maybe there's something to that. Well, we're not going to get into that. I believe Inky and Marduk had a great role in the creation of the Zionism religion. Well, again, that's correct because you got it from me. Also, some Judeans were descendants of his family, particularly priests, intellectual, and warrior castes. And Palestinians, Iraqis, Iranians, some Egyptians are descendants of Osiris, aka Enlil. It's not a coincidence we've been seeing a lot of wars between Judeans and Arabs. If you read the Talmud of Emmanuel, you could find out that Jesus, Emmanuel, was aware of the alien presence. What are they talking about? When I connected the dots, well, he's a dot connector, and published a post about Inky being a bad guy, I was banned immediately from the subreddit called Behind the Bastards. It might be against the policy of the subreddit. Frankly, I don't know. Yeah, frankly, you're in on it with him. I think Zionists, Judeans, and Christians, current Lucifer Marduk, well, Lucifer's Jesus, so Marduk is the son of Yahweh, so you're getting it all mixed up. And the reptilians, yeah, David Icke's got to get into this, have played a significant part in dumbing down Slavic people and pushing Russia to invade Ukraine in February of 2022. There are 3 factions behind the war in Ukraine and genocide in Palestine. Lucifer, Inky, and Marduk, as a royal son of his father Inky, Marduk will do whatever it takes to bring the throne back to him. That means opening an underground portal and inviting Inky to come back to Earth. What's all this opening of portals? Are these guys... look, there are portals. I'll tell you where the portal is in this world. Through your mother's womb. That's how you get into the world. And this is how you get out. Your spirit leaves right out through the top of your head. There's no other portals other than actual doors that lead to underground, which could be cities that they've made. But spiritual portals to other worlds only exist through the birth canal. So, number 2, Earth reptilians. Just can't figure out why people would want to believe that there are serpents that are intelligent walking around, look just like humans, but they got scales and they got little slithering tongues, and they're from the constellation Draco, and it's some Draco Federation that runs. What are it's like a novel from L. Ron Hubbard. I think he started the new one world religion right there, and his daddy Aleister Crowley, who was the beast. But it says, in context of the war in Ukraine, the reptilians might be seen as steering events through more covert means, using corporate and alternative media and puppets in the U.S., Russia, Israel, Great Britain, and the Ukraine to further their agenda. Perhaps you don't know, but some factions of Earth reptilians are good allies of Inky. That's forbidden topic to discuss, even for the reptilians. Are you hearing this nonsense? I guess if you hear this nonsense from every quarter, you turn on the radio, driving down the road, there's George Norrie. All reptilians and the abductions, blah, 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 and turn the channel, and now it's talking, even in the guy is selling Cheetos, right? It's got some alien on the package, and they want you to see. It's everywhere, and it's lies. And it's not even good lies. It's some kind of fantasy, science fiction, B-rated movie that they want you to believe is real. And by the way, we went to the moon. Remember that one? Yeah. So, there were 3 humans from the Pleiadian region. The term Anunnaki is also related to the beings from the Pleiadian region. Not a soul on this earth knew anything about this Pleiadian region until we start talking about it 10 years ago. And now everybody, Jehovah's Witnesses were talking about living, or their deity Yahweh was from Alcyon in the Pleiades. So I brought that up. Now everybody's talking about it. I believe those of the Atlas Alcyon, there's Alcyon where Jehovah's Witnesses believe their Yahweh lives, and Te Geta stars. Poseidon or Inky guy had incarnation on some planet from the Pleiadian region. Oh. See, these people really believe that there's a vacuum in space 1,000 light years away. There's this star that looks just like the sun. It's got a planet, and they live on it. And they're evolving from planet to planet and flying around in tin cans powered by rocket fuel. They're so stupid. So he recruited a new team from the Taurus constellation, you might call them Pleiadians, and headed to Terra, which I guess is Earth, where I don't know why they like calling our planet Terra. Who come up with that? Does that come from the Terra papers that somebody was reading, that lady from Canada? For like 5 years, she just sat there in a dark room reading the Terra papers, and it was like, what? Where they created the Atlantis civilization. By the way, they were responsible for the creation of New Age movement. And if you look closely, you might understand that the same humans have been connecting Homo sapiens for a long time. Why do we call them Homo? Let's get over the Homo stuff, okay? No wonder we hear about the beings from Te Geta, from Elizabeth, April, family of Te Geta, and Cosmic Agency channels. And there are many more of these spiritual teachers of love and light community. But here's the thing. Some of the loving space brothers are deeply involved in human abduction. Oh, my Lord, what are we going to do? Unfortunately, I had a personal drama. Oh, this poor soul. He had a personal drama. What, did you get abducted? Tell us more. In the previous incarnation in the Pleiadian region, my girlfriend was abducted. Oh, it was your girlfriend? And sent as a sex slave to one of the reptilian colonies. Dadgum David, I took your girl, and now he's using her as a sex slave? It turned out that the person who committed this crime was our mutual friend, a human, not a gray or a reptilian. Yeah, because they don't exist, you stupid idiot. I think almost all the politicians are controlled by either reptilians or Marduk's team. Yeah, you're probably right about that. Oh, those darn reptilians, no doubt about it. You can't be elected as the president of the United States or Russia or prime minister of Israel unless you're part of the cult. You gotta be a reptilian. Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu are fully aware of the ET presence on Earth. I wouldn't be surprised if the Israel prime minister has already spoken with Marduk or the reptilian priest who is part of the cabal. Anyway, the prophecy more likely will be fulfilled. Jewish priests, isn't that weird how my screen is jumping up and down? I don't know if you can see it. I can, but when it records, I don't know if it's going to record it that way. The Jewish priests and Freemasons deity El once again will come back on Earth, but Elena Danan. Now, who talks about Elena Danan but me? And at the very same juncture in time where I was talking about Billy Carson, he's talking about Elena Danan and Billy Carson and other so-called spiritual teachers are going to be disappointed with the beloved Inky. Just like I said, El or Inky person is a master of deception. When he was on the surface of Terra 1,000 years ago, El convinced young women to them that one of the best way to evolve spiritually is to make love with a teacher, the man who's in the best interest for you and your growth. How do I know all of this? It's the memory of one of my last incarnations as a human in the Pleiadian region. Oh gosh, oh my goodness! I'm like, if you guys all believe this, then I give up. I give up. There's nothing I can do to help any of you. If you're that ignorant, there's not a shred of proof for any of their lies. Nothing. And they're mixing it with biblical stuff to make it sound great, you know. And I think they're catering it to the information that we've been providing. Look at this. They sent me this little picture. You must understand that this war is not against Hitler or National Socialism, but against the strength of the German people, which is to be smashed once and for all, regardless of whether it is in the hands of Hitler or a Jesuit priest. So there's Winston Churchill's true colors. He really just hated the German people. He's trying to kill people, right? It wasn't about, and who were they? Maybe it was lost children of Israel, like we talked about yesterday. I don't know, but they got something up their sleeve, and this propaganda is now being funneled right into my email account. So let's take a look at this Jerusalem Ukrainian idea that he was mentioning. So for the first time, instead of just hearing about this, I looked it up to see if I could find out what this is about. And this is going to blow your mind. The new project, Heavenly Jerusalem 2.0 in Ukraine. Was there a secret plan for a reverse migration of Jews to Ukraine? Today, when listening to Hal Turner, my ears pricked up when I heard the following segment. Then I remembered this several years I came across an article in the Times of Israel titled Leaked Report. Israel acknowledges Judeans, in fact Khazars, secret plan for reverse migration to the Ukraine. Heavenly Jerusalem Project. Map of Heavenly Jerusalem. Heavenly Jerusalem based on the 5 southern regions of the Ukraine. This article is about a hypothetical project related to Israel. For more information, contact your nearest rabbi. Heavenly Jerusalem, also New Jerusalem, Israel 2.0, New Israel, is a project whose goal is the formation of a Jewish state inside the Ukraine in the territories of its 5 southern regions, including Odessa. The project is long. By the way, Odessa is a city in Texas where they have big oil refineries. It's a big Texas hubbub. I mean, so is Houston, but Odessa's in the western part of Texas, and that's where Bush Sr. had a lot of money in the oil business. And I think they even lived in that area. It's interesting that all these people in government, like Pelosi's kid and Romney's kid and the Bushes and everybody, are all invested in Ukraine, and it's all about Odessa. I don't know what that's about, guys, but that's another rabbit hole you might look into. The project is long-term. Its terms are determined by the Council of Benefactors. The time is described until 2049 and even after 2060. You got the content is 1, project description, reform in Ukraine, financing, criticism, interesting facts, and notes. So project description, according to the Burkett, author of the idea and executive director of the project, the New Jerusalem 5 plus 5 plus 5 project starting in 2014. The first 5 years are rotting and decomposition of the existing system. The next 5 years are destruction and fragmentation after 2019. And the next 5 years after 2024 are reformatting. 2029 is the first step for NI. Thus, by the end of 2029, about 5 million Jews are scheduled to arrive in the new homeland for the construction of the New Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has already discussed the organization of the resettlement and settlement of Jews, as well as a possible economic and political assistance in the implementation of the project. With the current Prime Minister of Ukraine, Grossman, Prime Minister of the Russian Federation, Medvedev, senior advisor to U.S. President Donald Trump, and member of the influential Jewish organization Chabad of Lubavitch, Jared Kushner. If any of this is even 1/10 of this is true, then we've got some really interesting information that might explain a lot of things that's going on. Now, look at this. The project received support from well-known public figures, political scientists, and analysts, and it gives some names. It is noteworthy that despite the scale of the project, it is not even covered either in the world or even in the local Ukrainian press, meaning central media channels, with very rare exceptions. Almost all information about the implementation of the project comes from its executive director, Igor Burkett. Video interviews with Igor Burkett covering the progress of the project are posted on the Razvet YouTube channel. An official announcement about the New Jerusalem project is planned to be made after the adoption of the law on decentralization of Ukraine in 2021-2022. In July of 2019, Switzerland allocated 25 million pounds, including for the purpose of decentralization of Ukraine. See, if that's true, then everything that's going on is being orchestrated. Every war, which we already know, but whether this is the real story or another one to, get you off and confuse you, I don't know, because I'm going to show you some evidence that people are saying this is propaganda, just lies and propaganda coming from the Russian KGB. It has something to do with misinformation and propaganda so that they can confuse the world. But I don't know. Maybe this is the propaganda, or maybe that's the propaganda. Don't know. The New Jerusalem project started at the beginning of 2017 with the landing of the port of Odessa. Again, Odessa, so important to these guys, where there's always oil is. Of the first group of the immigrants from Israel, led by Burkett, this group of 183 Jewish pioneers, 1 and 8 is 9 and 3 is 12. That can't be a coincidence. 183 Jewish pioneers arrived in Ukraine from Haifa, Israel, to lay the first stone in the foundation of the heavenly Jerusalem on the fertile soil of the southern Ukraine. Management of New Jerusalem will be entrusted to the Council of Benefactors, consisting of 12 leaders. Are they going to have a round table of 12, right? A native of Kiev, Golda Meir, and Benjamin Netanyahu will become chairman, prime, after completing his term as prime minister in the state of Israel. 3, finance will be led by former head of the U.S. Federal Reserve, Ben Bernanke. Do you see how crazy this would be if any of this was true? Defense issues will be in charge of the current Israeli Minister of Defense, a native of Chizna, Avigdor Lieberman. Remember that Lieberman, Judean guy, was in Congress? Well, okay, so what would be the problem with this? Well, there's a war between NATO and Russia and the United States in Ukraine. And they're saying it's because Russia invaded and but if this is all true, it's a plot. They're all in it together just to wipe out the existing Ukrainians, probably the way they wiped out the Germans, right? And replace it with these individuals, Judeans, Kazarians, or whatever. And each of the people that are supposedly fighting the war against each other are all becoming members of the council that's going to rule the kingdom after they're done destroying it. Huh? The intelligence service will be headed by the Moscow-born former head of Bureau for Relations with Judeans of the USSR in Eastern Europe, native Yakov Kedmi. So, the Prime Minister of Israel and the head of intelligence services in Moscow, and they're collaborating. Foreign Affairs will be in charge of Moscow-born political scientist and publicist Avigdor Eskin. Internal Affairs will be entrusted to the former Minister of Internal Affairs of the State of Israel, Soviet dissident Nathan Sharansky. The media will be headed by the famous Russian TV president Vladimir Solovyov, and issues of justice will be resolved by the native of Crimea lawyer Tatiana Montanya. The Speaker of the Council will be the former president of the Russian Jewish Congress, Evgeny Satanovsky. It is proposed to appoint an ethnic Ashkenazi as the chief rabbi of the Khazar version of the appearance of the branch of the Tree of Israel. Hidden Apostle. It is planned to create two capitals in New Jerusalem. The first political and business capital will be located in today's city of Dnipropetrovsk and will be called, in accordance with the New Jerusalem project. The second cultural will be located in Odessa and will be called Edessa. Consultations for the New Jerusalem project are provided by the Polish Minister of Finance. So Poland's in on it. The Russians are in on it. The Israelis are in on it. Come on. And Trump, right? Or something. And Lewinsky, I guess. So the Minister of Finance, Balkarovitz, who together with Burkett and other participants is the author of the economic reforms in Ukraine. According to the authors of the reforms, the basis for the well-being of citizens of the future Ukraine should be depopulation of the population. Is that what they're doing in the Appalachian area in where the storm went through? Or California, they're burning them out, or Hawaii, and then they're going to take over? Probably. Maybe they're doing these little projects all over the world. Maybe it's not propaganda. The main principle of the reform is that the smaller the population, the higher the GDP per capita. Therefore, the main path of reform is a steady, gradual decrease in the country's population, admits Burkett. That's probably their plan worldwide, you know. In accordance with these reforms, in 2017, the Minister of Social Affairs, politician A. Reva, stated, not only are there too many Ukrainians, I don't even think there's that many, but they also eat a lot. Grossman, in turn, found courage and for the first time in the history of the Ukraine declared, Ukrainians study too much. And Grossman, we both understand that for a Ukrainian child, it should be Kavan Day, Sybil Day, Embroidery Day. For a Jewish child, it should be Physics Day, Chemistry Day, and Programming Day. In other words, they're going to have these little programs of leisure for their people. A little paradise on earth. As of the end of 2016, Burkett cites the following sources of financing for the project within the framework of economic reforms in the Ukraine. $250,000 from one of the IMF tranches, $1 billion. $250,000 from the F4 fund for the modernization of the Ukraine economy in Switzerland. So Switzerland's in on it. Friedman, Feldman, and Fishman, and Firtash. We hope to receive another $450,000 from George Soros Foundation. Yeah, he's the guy that's paying people to riot and burn down the cities in America. In another video, the executive director of the project speaks as follows. The foundation, financial, was laid by divine providence. Today, 2 to 3 billionaires leave the world every day. If they leave all the inheritance to relatives, it will harm them. They can donate money to the project. Help is also expected from billionaires in Kazakhstan, Russia, and many other countries. This will help from Russia, Germany, the European Central Bank, the Bank of England, the House of Rothschild, the USA, from hundreds of family foundations, from Hollywood, from Apple, Facebook, Google corporations. In July of 2019, Ukraine received funding from Switzerland, £25 million, the EU 137 plus £29.5 million, and technical assistance from the USA got $695 million. We are talking about supporting public administration reforms and qualitative changes in the provisions of services, as well as decentralization. Criticism. Despite the scale of the project, its coordination with high-ranking people, Netanyahu, Medved. Now, Medved is the prime minister of Russia. Doing this in conjunction with Netanyahu and Grossman and Jared Kushner. So that's involving Trump. Lesgik, Balsarvik. It is not covered either in the world or even in the local Ukrainian press on central channels. The exception is on Israeli press. In his informational videos, Berkut more than once talks about the outstanding figure of our time, Lee Kuan Yew, the creator of the Singapore economic miracle. Berkut uses this state political figure as an example. Speaks of Singapore as a possible development model for the New Jerusalem. At the same time, Berkut's approach to financing and developing the project is based, respectively, on the desire to receive money from global corporations and the depopulation of the population of Ukraine. The fact is that from Lee Kuan Yew's book, Singapore History from the Third World to the First, it follows that Lee Kuan Yew has nothing in common with Berkut or his approach to the development of the state. He never counted on other people's money and dealt with the solution of the numerous problems in the development of the Singapore, relying only on his exceptional mind and human resources, never resorting to depopulation of the population. Berkut, speaking in a video interview on the YouTube channel Razvet about the New Jerusalem project, makes many shocking statements, which according to critics indicates that he suffers from chauvinism. Thus, at the beginning of the video, a picture of the future New Jerusalem is presented with this explanation. The dog in the picture represents all nations except the Jewish and Ukrainian. A picture of the future New Jerusalem is presented with the explanation: the dog in the picture represents all nations except the Jewish and Ukrainian. So I guess we're all going to have to worship them. We're just dogs. I mean, we knew that, but it's good to know what they're thinking. To the question of one of the spectators, "I will not allow a Jewish project to be built on my land," Berkut replies, "Dear Petya, there is nothing of yours there and never has been. Petya, you are disappearing small particles of biomass, which the wind of change brought into our objective reality. This was explained to you under Kravchuk, under Yushchenko, etc. Petya, looked around and see where you are, and remember, there is nothing there. There has not been, and there will be nothing of yours." Discussing a possible threat to Israel, Berkut reports that in this case, nuclear strikes with medium-range missiles with nuclear warheads prohibited by the INF Treaty will be launched from the territory of Heavenly Jerusalem against possibly Egypt, Jordan, Syria, Iraq, Iran. Quote, "Thanks to Crimea, from the Heavenly Jerusalem, we can bomb with impunity any state that takes an anti-Semitic or anti-Israel position. Even if the Turkey bans missiles from flying over its territory, it will also be subject to a nuclear strike." Okay. Interesting facts. Answering the question, do Judeans plan to completely leave Israel in the future? Berkut expressed himself as follows: "The Judeans will not leave Israel until our sun goes out and turns into a white dwarf, which will happen in about 7 billion years. They got that planned out. The fact is that before it turns into a white dwarf, the sun will go through a phase of significant increase in size and increase in its brightness. This will happen in 3.5 billion years. By that time, water from the surface of the planet will completely disappear, escaping into space. All right, this is getting ridiculous. Now, as there's 2 existing nuclear power plants on the territory of the future New Jerusalem, are supposed to be used for Bitcoin mining. Yeah, because it takes a lot of energy to mine the coin. I never did understand. Why does it take so much energy to mine coins that don't exist? Can anybody explain that to me? Mining of a cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin is housed or based on the proof of work. POW. A method in which the probability of creating the next block is higher for the owner of more powerful equipment. An alternative to the proof of stake, in which the probability of a participant forming the next block in a blockchain is proportional to the share of the units of account of a given cryptocurrency belonging to the participant from their total number. I mean, this is insanity. They're mining digital coins in ether, right? I have got no clue what these humans are doing, because if they're staging this, knowing that it's nonsense and staging this nonsense, they're just about as ignorant as if they actually believe all this nonsense. And I can't figure out which is more true. They're staging something they know is not true. They're lying. It's all propaganda, and they're coming up with some sci-fi craziness that then they're actually doing it, because we see them doing it, depopulating. They must be insane, these people that run the world. They must be completely lunatics. Speaking of the New Jerusalem, repeatedly refers to chapter 21 of the book of Revelation. Whew. I don't know. I don't even know if we need to read the rest of this. It goes down here talking about the protocols of the elders of Zion and the documents of Judeo-Messianic conspiracies and the Pentateuch of Moses and the Talmud, which is the main books of Judaism. So anyway, guys, I don't know what kind of mess this is. Like I said, this could just be propaganda, that somebody claims the Russians are just creating this propaganda and it's not even true. But that in itself is just bizarre to no end. Just perhaps it's kind of like the Q thing, right? And everybody's like, oh, Q, we believe in Q. And so maybe we shouldn't believe that they're doing this. Maybe we should. It seems to be following in line with what they apparently are doing. So I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and go. Hope you have a wonderful evening. May the Lord bless you guys. And we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys. Man, is this guy on fire. Pouring down rain over there. Isn't that crazy? crazy, huh?